You know that.
What? Yeah. I think you'll see.
Good evening and welcome to our December meeting, the last meeting of the calendar year. Welcome to our virtual gallery, and could I please ask everyone to be outstanding for the acknowledgement of country and the country. I would like to start the meeting by acknowledging and extending my appreciation for the Dja Dja Wurrung people, the traditional owners of the land we're standing on today. Today, we pay our respects to leaders and elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the memories, traditions, the culture and the hopes of all Dja Dja Wurrung people. The Council Prayer. Almighty God, we ask you to be present in this council, direct and guide our deliberations. We ask you to grant us wisdom and sensitivity as we deal with the business of Central Goldfields Shire. May each decision that we make advance the well-being of all our residents. This we pray. Amen. Agenda tonight, I would like to start with apologies. We have one apology, and that's Councillor Lovett. He's been unwell, and Councillor Lovett, if you are watching, we wish you a speedy recovery. There is no leave of absence. Councillors, is there any conflict of interest, please? Nil. Okay, we will move on to confirmation of minutes from the previous council meetings. Now, this is 3 meetings. We had the special council meeting dated the 31st of October, the statutory meeting dated the 21st of November, and the council meeting dated the 28th of November. Councillors, do I have a motion to have these as accurate minutes? Motion. Thank you, Councillor Vella. Do I have a seconder? Meadows Taylor, thank you. All those in favour? Minutes are carried. Minutes of delegated and advisory committees, we have nil, and there is nil petitions, so we will move on to the officer reports. Report number 1 is 8.1, which is G18542023Q 2023-2024 consideration of the resealing contract report. Councillors, do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Sproul, your motion is?
Thank you, Mayor. I move the recommendation that 1, Council approve the award of contract G1854-2023Q for Primal Services Proprietary Limited as part of the BSA Group Proprietary Limited for the 2023 to 2024 resealing works in Central Goldfields Shire at a contract sum of $682,968.54 exclusive of GST. 2, note that the provisional roads listed in the contract will only proceed up until the $640,000 budget allocation is exhausted. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to take all necessary action to execute contract G1854-2023Q, including informing the respondents of Council's decision in this matter.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Do I have a second, please?
I'll say second.
Thank you, Councillor Lavella. Councillor Sproul, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. The Central Goldfields Shire has 524 kilometres of sealed roads. Sealed road asset is broken down into 2 parts: the road pavement and the sealed surface. Sealed surface has an average life expectancy of 15 years. Each year, Council allocates funding to complete a road sealing program which carries out work based on condition data of our sealed road network. This financial year, Council have allocated a sum of $640,000 towards its works. In November, a request for quote was sent out to 4 companies on our spray sealing panel, and we received 3 conforming quotes back. From those 3, primal servicing was successful. The quote exceeded Council's total spend. However, the contract contains both essential works and provisional works, which means the essential works, which is around $500,000, will be covered, and the provisional works will be completed up until the remaining amount of $140,000, bringing the total to $640,000. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Sproul. Councillor Lavella, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, consultation and communication prior to the contract sealing works being taken. Communications will be provided on social media to advise that sealing works will occur. Affected properties will be notified separately. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lavella. Would any other councillor like to speak to this motion, please? No, there's no other speakers. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Moving on to 8.2, contract G 1459 2020 bituminous spray sealing contract. Do I have a mover for this
Can I
motion?
just have a clarification, please?
Yes,
Ask the officer, I'm just asking if Troy Walk Electrical Products Limited, that is correct, the fencing and welding services is correct from them?
that's the next item, I
Is it?
believe.
Oh, really? I haven't got that item, so sorry.
That's the trade services report.
8.2, where?
Oh, yeah, there it is, yeah, Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Sproul, your motion is please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that council one, extend contract G 1459-2020, the panel of suppliers for bitumen spray sealing for an additional 2-year term commencing February 2024. Number two, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to undertake all necessary negotiations for the extended terms and conditions of contract G 1459-2020 and to sign the extension of contract G 1459-2020. Also, three, grant financial delegation to the Chief Executive Officer to expend up to the maximum amount that aligns with the annual capital works resealing budget, enabling acceptance of quotations and approval of any expenditure under the extended term of contract G 1459-2020.
Thank you, councillor Sproul. Could I have a seconder for this motion, please? Thank you, councillor De Villiers. Would you like to speak to your motion, councillor Sproul?
Thank you, Mayor. As mentioned in the previous report, council has a panel of suppliers for the spray sealing of bituminous surfaces. Our panel currently consists of Boral, Down EDI, Fulton Hogan and Primal Surfacing. These panel suppliers were awarded a 3-year term which was up for review. The list of suppliers has worked well with meeting expectations and fulfilling council's requirements, and it was considered that going through a re-tender for panel suppliers would not result in any additional benefits. Hence the recommendation that the panel be granted the 2-year extension, which was part of the original contract. This is subject to the contractor's acceptance, and the negotiations will follow to determine the terms and conditions of the extension of the contract with all the relevant parties. It is also recommended that the CEO have the delegation to execute the associated costs of the resealing works to reduce administrative costs and allow for timely work to be carried out.
Thank you, councillor Sproul. Councillor De Villiers, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you. I think councillor Sproul said it all. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to this motion? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour of this motion? All those against? The motion is carried. Moving on to 8.3. Councillor Murphy, you had a query on this motion?
To Troy Walk Electrical, is that correct? It's fencing and welding services?
Councillor, Mr. Irving, would you like to answer that question, please?
Thank you for the question, councillor. That is correct. So while Troy Walker provides electrical services, also provides fencing and welding services, and during the tender process demonstrated capability, skills and experience in this space to be able to provide the service moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irving. Does that answer your question, councillor
Yes, it does.
Murphy? Thank you. Do I have a mover for item 8.3, contract award G 1826-23 trade services report?
I'd like to move that motion too.
Councillor Sproul, your motion is?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that council award G 1826-23 provision of trade services panel of suppliers to the following companies under a schedule of rates contract for an initial term of 2 years, with 2 options to extend for 1 year each. You want to list the companies? I'll go through the list. So, number 1, company name Troy Walker Electrical to provide fencing and welding services. Shade and Sales to provide shade sail repairs and membrane replacements. The trustees for Asprey Welding, Asprey Business Trust, trading as Asprey Welding and Contracting for welding and fencing services. Encore Contracting Proprietary Limited for testing and tagging. Joshua Lawrence Mockridge for plastering. B&WA Home Furnishings Proprietary Limited trading as O'Halloran Maryborough for curtains, blinds and window decorations and flooring, carpet vinyl services and bonding. Verminate Proprietary Limited trading as Verminate Pest Control for pest control. Anthony Jonathan Coyle trading as Tony's Pest Control Victoria for pest control. The trustee for the Beaton Family Trust trading as AB Paint Proprietary Limited, painting and decorating. The Lark Family Trust trading as Attention to Detail Painting Services Proprietary Limited for painting and decorating. HQ Building Proprietary Limited trading as Heenan Homes and Construction for carpentry and handyman work. Keppel Building Services for carpentry and handyman work. Luff Metal Fabrication Proprietary Limited for welding services, and CIS Industrial Services for welding services as well.
Thank you, councillor Sproul. It's certainly a very comprehensive list. Councillors, do I have a seconder for this motion, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, councillor de Villiers. Councillor Sproul, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam. Council has a number of panel suppliers for various things that the Shire require. The panel gives council quick access to trades and services based on previous agreed terms for any work that may be required. There are lots of things that council use contractors for, and while I understand some people's concerns over that, they must also understand that it's financially beneficial to have specialist services. It's not financially beneficial, sorry, to have specialist services on council payrolls to fulfil any seasonal or occasional work you may need. In August, a call out for contractors and suppliers was advertised, seeking trades and services such as fencing, pest control, curtains and blinds and plastering. There was a good response from multiple businesses with experience in their fields. However, there's still some much needed services that remain unfilled, and this may mean that another advertising process may be required in the future. This new panel of suppliers gives contract managers a suite of contractors from multiple trades. The list of suppliers has many familiar names from local businesses, which to me shows council's commitment to local trades and services, and also our community's commitment to work with the Shire. The anticipated spend on works for this panel is anticipated to be around 600,000 initially over the 2 years, which is a sizable investment in our local trade and services economy. The contract also has the option for extending the panel for an additional total of 2 years, with 1 year extensions upon the completion of the first 2 year term. Each engagement with contractors will be based on a schedule of rates contract and subject to ongoing quotation processes.
Thank you, councillor Sproul. Councillor de Villiers, would you like to speak to the motion?
I do not think I will be able to add anything to what councillor Sproul has said. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor de Villiers. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion?
I just have a question.
Yes, councillor.
Given just a bit of clarity around the trades that you stated like it was closed. However, some trades didn't have the opportunity to either see the ad or submit for a tender. Is that still open in any other form through the website, or can they still submit a tender to be on that list of companies, trades?
Mr. Irving, if you'd like to answer that question, please.
While this current procurement process has closed, it's coming for award. Certainly over the next course of the 12 months, we'll need to renew our panel that we have in place around electrical, plumbing, carpentry, and also, as mentioned, with councillor Sproul there's some trade spots that haven't been filled, so there'll be potential opportunities coming up in the future for those interested to put forward during those times.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irving. Does that answer your question,
Yes,
councillor Villa? Councillor de Villiers.
Yeah, I'd just like to also add to what councillor Lavella asked. My understanding was that smaller businesses and companies can approach council directly to become suppliers. Is that true or not?
Take on note.
Well, any supplier can come forward to council, and then we do have an opportunity for them to potentially register to a portal, which then gives them notification when potential contracts or panel opportunities become available. So if anyone wants to come forward and be registered in that space, that's the most appropriate for them to then become aware of any future opportunities that may be to vote for gifts.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Erwin.
Thank you, Mr. Irving. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other councillors who would like to speak to this motion? Yes, councillor Murphy.
I think I'm going to have to be a no. Maybe I haven't seen or haven't listened to some, but I just don't understand on evaluations to what's the 14 in here in the actual motion, and what the evaluations state. I'm just not really understanding why in some areas. So because I'm not fully understanding, I don't think I was voted for yes for it, but I just don't understand where some have been left out, and I hope that my conversation here will maybe be able to look at this in the future, and if it gets up. Thank you.
Are you speaking against the motion, councillor Murphy?
I will be.
Yes. Councillor Sproul, would you like to have a right of reply?
Through the mayor, look in the confidential attachment for the report. I don't see any applicants as failing the assessment task. All those that applied have been accepted through. So I'm not quite sure. Sorry, what you're insinuating if there was other businesses that applied.
All right, I think we will cease further discussion. I will now put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. We'll move on to point 8.4, which is Community Assets Committee Establishment Report. Do I have a mover for this motion?
Before we proceed, can I just ask a question?
Point
Clarification.
of order, I think it's finished.
8.4.
Oh, sorry, yes, the next. Sorry, I'll give you.
No.
That's okay, go ahead, councillor.
That's clarification. On page 38, the officer's report, following statement with regards to financial and resource implications. The management of community asset committees is funded through existing budgets, and committees can generally enter into financial agreement up to the value of $4,999. So my question is, or clarification I need is, could the officers explain what is meant by existing budget? And also, will there be adequate explanation for the community asset committees on how to access and manage the $4,999?
Councillor de Villiers.
Mr. Smith, would you like to answer the question?
Yes, sorry, Mayor. Your first question was around where are the budgets? So the budgets sit within our operating budgets, the repairs and maintenance type budgets.
Yep.
The question around working with the groups on the $4,900 is something we've committed to do, and the work we're doing in documenting our community asset committee delegations, but we're also further working on handbooks and guidance and working with those committees to help them manage their committee, their assets as well. So yeah, certainly working on that as well.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, do I have a mover for motion 8?
Happy to move the motion that council endorses the use of the attached template of the instrument of delegation for all community asset committees to be amended as required by the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with section 47(1)(b) of the Local Government Act 2020. To acknowledging the convention that council appoints individual members of the community to community asset committees. A, delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the ability to appoint members to council's community asset committees when, one, casual vacancies occur, or two, it is otherwise necessary for the operation of the committee for further members to be appointed. And three, requires the CEO to include in the annual report to council on the operation of community asset committees any such appointments made by the CEO under delegation.
Thank you,
Thanks,
councillor Meadows Taylor. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, councillor de Villiers. Would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This may seem a procedural issue, but it's a lot more than that. Community asset committees are incredibly important. They deal with key assets of council that are entrusted through this process to community members to maintain, look after, manage and develop on council's behalf. That's an incredibly important opportunity for communities. It's also incredibly helpful for council that otherwise would have very stretched resources. Now, typically we think of community halls, and community and town halls are an incredibly important part of the interface between council and community. And in small communities like my own rural ward and others of us that have rural wards, they are a point of gathering, a point of community interface, a point of community representation and community belonging. But of course, there are other assets too, and in the next item we'll be dealing with one of those in Councillor de Villiers' report. So community asset committees are incredibly important. Over time in the history of this council's post-amalgamation, originally a minimalist approach was taken, really to have a very basic delegation and let the committees get on with it. That's been found over time to be wanting. And also the inspectorates have made some criticism, which over recent years the CEO and officers have addressed. Delegations are in place, but what we've found with experience is we need to broaden those delegations. Those delegations need to provide a comprehensive backbone for those committees to refer to provide a guidance to them, not to interfere with their work, but to provide a framework of good governance for them to have access to refer to guide them in their work. And that is exactly what is happening here. This delegation, this framework delegation does just that. It builds on the past delegation. It takes into account some issues that we've found with operating experience need to be clarified. But very importantly, this is work in progress. And this report details not only the work now that's proposed and the issues before council, but further work that's proposed to strengthen the operation of community asset committees, to provide them with better guidance, better support, as we're able to do that progressively, as our limited resources provide. So this is a fine thing. I pay real tribute to the General Manager and particularly to the Manager Governance, Audit and Risk, because there's a lot of work in this, and I know personally, because I'm working in my ward, how much time this has been taking, but it's good work, it's important work, it's important for our communities, and I commend it wholeheartedly, and so it's a like to move the motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Meadows Taylor. Councillor de Villiers.
Thank you. Well said, Councillor Meadows Taylor. This is indeed, and if I can pronounce the word correctly, a mammoth task that the officers have conducted since the Local Government Act 2020 was passed. This needed to be done, changing from Section 86 committees to community asset committees, and so there's a lot involved. So congratulations to the officers for getting to this stage. I've got one comment. Page 37, it's just a typo. The CIC handbook, the date there is March 2023-4. So, but I think it should be 2024, if that can just be corrected. But then I would also like to add that the conclusion of the officer's report states that this report meets statutory requirements under the Act, which is quite correct. section 47 of the Act determines that the CEO have certain duties with regards to community, reporting duties with regards to the community asset committees. This report meets some aspects of that, but I think in the one aspect that should be addressed next year, because this should be an annual report, is that the report should contain information about the activities and performance of all the community asset committees. And this information is not included in this report. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor de Villiers. Would any other councillor like to speak to this motion? Yes, councillor Murphy.
I would like to say that if this motion does not get up, that I would like to put an alternative motion in now,
And your motion is?
that we take out, I just think that this is not, there's something that should be the council laws. And the reason for this is that because we, in the next part of the agenda, council laws are actually voting on the 5 members that are going on to the committee of the next one. But if we take out, delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the ability to appoint members to council community asset committees when casual vacancies occur or otherwise necessary for the operation of the committee for further members to be appointed. Full stop. If that came out, that means that if new people going onto the committee come through the council meeting once a month, wouldn't it be a bad thing? It's only 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks before someone else is appointed. When we are appointing other people, the next one we are actually appointing as councillors the 4 or 5 members. So if this doesn't get up, I'm saying 2A is deleted, and then I'll be putting that towards the council group.
Yep. So you're foreshadowing the motion.
I'm foreshadowing the motion.
Yep. All right. If any other councillors want to speak? No, then we'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against?
I'm abstaining because
Abstaining?
I'm not sure what the local government act
The motion
states.
is carried.
Okay, can I have a division, please?
Division? All those for? Councillor Sproul, councillor Meadows Taylor, councillor Longmire and councillor Labella. Against? Councillor Murphy, abstaining?
Abstaining.
Councillor,
I'm sitting on the fence.
councillor de Villiers. Thank you. The motion is carried. Moving on to the next item, 8.5, which is establishment of Tullaroo Leisure Centre Community Assets Committee. Do I have a mover for this motion, please?
I'll move that
Thank you,
motion.
councillor de Villiers. Your motion is?
Thank you. Sorry, what is now? Is I keep on forgetting.
You can take it as a recommendation if you don't want to read it all.
I think it's worth reading because this establishment of the Tullaroo Leisure Centre Community Asset Committee has been a long while coming. It's almost 3 years since we first started the discussion. So in exercise of the power conferred by section 65 of the Local Government Act 2020, Council resolves that from the date of this resolution, they be established as a community asset committee, the Tullaroo Leisure Centre Community Asset Committee. Number 2, the purpose of the committee is set out in the schedule to this resolution. Number 3, the members of the committee are Ian Fetting, Maryborough Squash Club representative, Greg Butler, community member, Rowena Butler, community member, Lois Kane, community member, and a Carisbrook Primary School representative who needs to be determined and appointed. And that's always been, because of the involvement of the school, what happened. And then the chairperson of the committee is Ian Fetting. A quorum of the committee is a whole number. That is an absolute majority, which is greater than half the number of members of the committee, including no fewer than 2 office bearers. All members of the committee have voting rights on the committee, and the councillor representative for the committee is Councillor Anna de Villiers.
Thank you, councillor de Villiers. Do I have a seconder for this motion?
Yes, so Mayor, seconded it.
Councillor Meadows Taylor, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, yeah, with great pleasure. So apparently approximately 40 years ago, a group of young families and the then Talarip councillors got together planning the establishment of a facility which became a reality, known as the Talarip Leisure Centre, built by the community through huge fundraising efforts for the community. In the foyer of the centre is a huge board with all the names of people who made financial contributions. Through visionaries, establishing a facility that still benefits all of the community. The main drivers behind all of this were Mr. Russell Kane and his brother George Kane. Mr. Russell Kane was involved with the Talarip Leisure Centre, at times being the chair for the committee until the committee was dismissed in 2021. As is stated in the officer's report, Council was exploring the potential of external management of the centre. Establishing this community asset committee will ensure that the Talarip Leisure Centre remains a community asset for the community, by the community. I would also like to add that it's wonderful to see the name of Lois Kane as one of the committee members, continuing the tradition and following in the footsteps of his grandfather, Russell Kane. That is what makes a community special. Traditions, legacies, and continuity of that. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank the committee members who did not put their hands up again, but were involved for many years in the management of the centre. To name but a few whom I've met, Nola Evans, Calvin Nicholson, and James Brown, and now there were many others. So thank you to the officers, and I'm really pleased that we've got this committee established. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor de Villiers. Councillor Meadows Taylor, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My task is easy, and that is really to congratulate all parties. Councillor de Villiers, you've made this a priority in your term as councillor to get resolution of this, and I pay tribute to your continuing work and commitment in this area. But there's been a lot of hard work. As you mentioned, the officers have been very actively involved throughout this, and of course the members of the committee and those who've changed. Sometimes with these things, getting it right takes time. And I think this has been one. This is a very important asset. It's a very significant one. It's one that we've received funds to upgrade in recent years. So getting it right has taken time, as you've acknowledged. But all parties work hard to get at. You've championed that cause, and that should be acknowledged. So this brings us to a happy point of resolution, and it's a tribute to all that have worked so hard over that period to get to the point that we now are at, and it's now before us for resolution. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Meadows Taylor. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? Councillor Murphy?
Whilst I'm going to speak yes to the motion, it is a point of fact right now with the motion passed before us that we will never see this again. Us as councillors will never see people come in front of us for us to make a decision that that person can get on, or that person can get on, or that person can get on. We've made that decision clear. Now, it's not anything against the CEO. It's our responsibilities for this CAC is finished as community members to go on as we speak right now, unless the CEO decides to bring it up to us. So this is the last time that we'll do this. So that's what I was trying to get through before. So right now, I don't think you're going to see anybody in here again. That's what I'm saying to everyone, because I'm still going to vote yes for it. So I'm not voting no.
Thank you, councillor Murphy. Any other councillors would like to speak? If not, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. Next is item 8.6, the biannual report of the Audit and Risk Committee. Councillors, do I have a motion for this motion, please? Councillor Murphy, your motion is, please.
As I've been on this, receive and note the report and thank Councillor Jeff Lovett for his contribution and commitment during his time as a councillor representative on the Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you, councillor Murphy. Do I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Councillor De Villiers, would you like to speak to the motion, councillor Murphy?
I just, has been on the audit committee for the last 3 years, and then was with Jeff, Councillor Jeff Lovett was one of the ones who got this audit committee up and going in 2000 and late 16, probably mid 17. We are still very fortunate to have John and Robert on board, and we've got a new fellow on board whose name is gone, Richard. But John and Robert's been there since I've been on there, and so has Councillor Jeff Lovett been there from 2017. So always good. Receive a note to report. It's fine. Next one is to thank Councillor Jeff Lovett for his contribution to and his real commitment to this audit committee. He was the one in 2017 who went out and talked to people and eventually met John Watson, because we were really stuck in a rock and a hard place, and we had to renew in there. So we renewed, and by the time we got the people on board, state government decided to do what they did, and we were doing all the right things at the time, and they moved us on, which still angers me. But Councillor Jeff Lovett has been on that committee as long as I was on the committee, and I've probably got 1 more year to go, and he's not there this year. I'd like to thank him immensely. I was in the meetings with him, very learned, asking questions. The knowledge was very good, very, very good. And when he brought it to the table for the Audit Risk Committee's reports and that, very, very good. So overall, thank you, Jeff. I don't know if you're listening, but I personally like to thank you, and the councillors group would like to thank you.
Thank you, councillor Murphy. Councillor De Villiers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. No, I think Councillor Murphy said it all. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Lavella?
Yes, I would just like to thank Councillor Lovett. I wasn't aware he originated the Audit and Risk Committee back in 2017, and thank you for the detail, Councillor Murphy. Lily's done a great job up to date, albeit there is a little pregnant pause there in the middle. However, having him back on is really good. It's really good to have fresh eyes, and he stepped down graciously from the committee. So thank you, Councillor Lovett. You've done an amazing job, and I'm sure the Audit and Risk Committee will miss you, but they will welcome another person around the table. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lavella. Any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Meadows-Taylor?
Thanks, Mayor. Really to just amplify the comments already made. This, as Councillor Murphy noted, this committee was established in the fateful year 2017, and it has been enduring. And I've talked before, and I really believe genuinely that good councils, good committees are about balance. And about bringing a range of capabilities, experiences, and the Audit and Risk Committee, of which I can claim absolutely no credit for being a member of it through any of it. I wasn't old to get this out of its establishment, but it's endured, and I think it's got a wonderful balance of skills, capabilities, led by John Watson, and he was a cheap date with a lunch for I think $26 between Councillor Lovett and who was then there and Mr. Watson. So it was the best $26 we spent over lunch, persuading John to become chair. But it has endured. It's had a remarkable combination of skills, abilities. It's led us well through difficult times. It's been well supported by our CEO and officers, and together with others, acknowledge Councillor Lovett's contribution, his lead experience that he's brought, and also his passion too. So I'm amplifying what others have said, but it does need to be said. This is an incredible committee for us. It's well led, well represented, and will go forward into the future, advising us and doing good works, which it has done today. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Meadows-Taylor. Any other councillors who would like to speak? If not, I would just like to reiterate too, to thank Councillor Jeff Lovett for his contribution. It's another meeting to go to, it's another pack of papers to read, it's not just a bum on a seat. He's really contributed to this committee and, as Councillor Murphy said, for a very long time, so I would like to thank him as well for his contribution. I would now like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Next item is item 8.7, the Audit and Risk Committee Charter Review 2023 report. Do I have a move to this first motion? Councillor De Villiers, your motion is?
Let's get my glasses on. My motion is that council adopt the amended Audit and Risk Committee charter is attached.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please, for the motion? Councillor Murphy, Councillor De Villiers, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you. I always find it intriguing going through the Audit and Risk Committee charter, seeing how it compares with other councils' charters for the Audit and Risk Committees. And I think ours is second to none. And congratulations to the officers for doing this work every year, because it's an annual process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor De Villiers. Councillor Murphy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'd just like to tell the community that you can get this out most likely on our website or have a look at it, and then you'll get some more of an understanding of it. Pretty happy with it all, and I would recommend it. And I thank for the officers for doing the work. And I'm just going to say thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Next, we have 8.8, setting council meeting dates reports for 2024. It's a procedural motion. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Lavella, your motion is?
The purpose of this report, as you said, is to set proposed dates and times for the meetings of council for the 2024 calendar year. The recommendation is adopt the proposed council meeting dates as Tuesday, 23rd of January, Tuesday, 27th of February, Tuesday, 26th of March, Tuesday, 23rd of April, then 28th of May. These are all Tuesdays, 20th of June, 23rd of July, 20th of August and 17th of September. There will be no council meeting scheduled for October because that's when we go into caretaker mode in readiness for the 2024 local government elections. And then Wednesday, the 6th of November, on the Wednesday instead of the Tuesday due to the November public holiday. Tuesday, the 26th of November, and then Tuesday, the 17th of December. I'm exhausted. I'm almost ready for Christmas in 2024. So that's our set meeting dates.
Thank you, Councillor Lavella. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sproul. Councillor Lavella, would you like to speak to this motion?
I think I've said enough about this because I'm exhausted.
Thank you, Councillor Lavella. Councillor Sproul?
Nothing there, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Any other councillors like to speak to this motion? No, if not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is 8.9, S5 Instrument of Delegation Report from Council to the CEO. Do I have a councillor to move this, please?
Yes,
Councillor
ma'am.
Manos.
I'm happy to move a slight update on the printed officer's recommendation. My motion is that in exercise of the power conferred by section 11(1)(b) of the Local Government Act 2020, known as the Act, Central Goldfields Shire Council resolves that 1. References in the attached instrument to ex-GST be changed to GST inclusive. 2. There be delegated to the person holding the position or acting in or performing the duties of Chief Executive Officer the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument of delegation to the Chief Executive Officer, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument and as modified at point 1 above. 3, the instrument comes into force immediately upon this resolution being made and is to be signed by the Council Chief Executive Officer and the Mayor. And 4, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to the Chief Executive Officer revoke. And 5, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed, and the powers set out in the instruments must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that it may from time to time adopt. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Melrose Taylor. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, councillor Lavella. Councillor Melrose Taylor, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This is not, in a sense, a policy change in relation to the existing delegation to the CEO, limiting the power of expenditure to $500,000 with GST. What this does is recognise the complexity of administration and management, but some things that need to be done are not actually an expenditure in one sense. And to give some explanation of that, I'll extract from the officer's report, and from the delegation that explains what this delegation actually achieves. And the delegate must not determine the issue, take action, or do anything. One, if the issue action actual thing is an issue action which involves entering into a contract exceeding the value of 500,000 ex GST, making any expenditure that exceeds 500,000 ex GST, unless it is expenditure made under a contract already entered into, which council is by any legislation required to make, or to make any pay salaries, wages, allowances, and associated amounts to members of council staff, is for insurance premiums, in which case must not exceed $2 million ex GST, or 1.3 making funds transfers between council banking accounts that exceed $2 million ex GST. In other words, this is about just recognising that complexity and enabling the CEO to actually make transactions within that overall $2 million ex GST that are consequential without them needing to come to council. So it's not making a policy shift as such, but recognising that the way that administration takes place and the nature of transactions means that not everything is bundled neatly into one thing, but has consequential actions. And it's pointless for those consequential things to have to come to council. It actually delays things unnecessarily, and it is in the interest of, it's both consistently good governance, but also prompt and timely administration, execution of things, payment of things, and delivery to give the CEO that broader delegation that is still limited by that, but recognises there are contingencies and contingency situations that require more flexibility. Thanks.
Thank you, councillor Melrose Taylor. Councillor Lavella, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor would like to speak? Councillor Murphy?
I don't understand, Chris, Councillor Melrose Taylor, you said something which is not in the report. Is that right? If you've actually, sorry, I'll ask the question, and if you've said something added to this report.
It's in the officer's, if I can answer through this. It is in the officer's report. It explains it. It's in section, it's in at the start of the report, and then goes revised and takes the delegation of the delegate. I actually quoted that bit that's actually in italics there under report. So just because that actually explains, extracts from the delegation, explains, I think, most succinctly directly what this is actually intended to do.
So my question is then, if it's $500,000, enter into a contract exceeding the value of $500,000 ex GST, the ex GST would mean it's $450,450. That's how much it is.
Mr. Smith, do you want to perhaps answer that question?
I thought it was $500,000 ex GST, with full stop.
So the amended motion was to amend the delegation to make it 500,000 inclusive of GST. And so you're right, the amount would be inclusive of GST or without around 454,000.
Look, I may be a bit strange here with the mayor, that I believed it was $500,000 inclusive of GST up until today. Is that still going to be the same tomorrow on this? Okay.
Does that answer your question, councillor Murphy?
So
Yes. Okay, understand. I understand now. It's fine.
Now, I might have complicated things. I took from the report, and the report is the ex-GST and so on. I'm sorry about confused. I thought the explanation overall about the situation continued to reduce, or that the GST might I apologise for that. The motion is correct, advising that the contextual thing I took from the report might have confused the issue.
Thank you, councillor Vallis-Tanella. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Next item on the agenda, it's our last item, is 8.10, and it is Communications and Engagement Strategy Report Annual Review. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Lavella, your motion is?
Right, I'll just bring it up slowly. The purpose of this report is for council to consider and adopt a review of the communications and engagement strategy to continue to benchmark excellent communications and engagement in the Central Goldfields community. The recommendation is that council note the review of Central Goldfields Shire Council Communications and Engagement Strategy.
Thank you, councillor Lavella. A second for the motion, please.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Do that.
Ms. Taylor, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, through the mayor. The initial communications and engagement strategy was adopted by council in March 2021, ensuring compliance with legislative requirements and a framework to support our staff in the application to then provide the community with clear and transparent communications and engagement opportunities, which are planned and accessible to all community members. This report provides an overview of the improvements required of a deliberative engagement process, including a remarkable representation of the diverse community to assist in council's decision-making, including the excellent community feedback, which has been integral in shaping of our vision into the future. Since April 21 to September 23, our organisation has delivered over 37 community projects and focused on a range of methods, enabling us to work closely with the community on complex issues such as committees and advisory groups, etc. The organisation employed in November a designated community engagement officer who will help facilitate this work. There are a further 17 process improvements to be completed and or ongoing across years 24-25. The review demonstrates significant progress and process improvements, and now with adequate resourcing in place, the community engagement team, including other areas of the organisation, is well positioned to deliver a further 17 improvements listed for the 2024-2025 plan. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Lavella. Councillor Taylor, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think councillor Lavella has summed it up admirably. So I very much a second speaker in this. Look, other than to say, I think the community engagement team led by Magic Community Engagement do an absolutely fabulous job. And it really disappoints me sometimes when I see people in and there are very few of them in the community, say we're not transparent. We are very transparent, and you look at Engage Central Goldfields, you look at the range of opportunities people have to provide comment, feedback, the things that we share, the opportunity for comment, the policies that we send out in draft form to get back. I mean, we do everything possible and in every way possible to get comments, to seek views, and we act on those views. We really do. We take them on board, we champion them, we look at them very, very, very carefully. So I think this is great work. This is great accountability to have it come back to us in this way. This is work that will continue, should continue, and I think it is work that it's critical to our role as councillors to have engagement, right? We have got it right. We've go from strength to strength, supported by community engagement team. This is good work, and I'm certainly proud to see it and to see it go forward. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Would any other, yes, Councillor Zellius?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question and a comment. This communications and engagement strategy is pretty crucial to council and to us as councillors as well, because that is the way or determines the way that we engage with the community. But I would also like to know, we have quite a number of other strategies that's listed, and it was fascinating to receive this report on the communication strategy to see how it's progressing. I guess my question that I would just like to, you don't have to answer it, it's just with all the other strategies, because they all have action plans, the back of steps that would be taken that year. Is there any potential or plan in future to actually receive similar reports on the other strategies?
Ms. Roffey, would you like to answer that, because we have an applicant officer? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, councillor. We often bring through reviews of strategies, particularly sometimes midway through. The annual action plan that we put to councillors usually has a number of actions from those strategies. And then also when a strategy is sunsetting or coming to the conclusion, then of course we bring that again and for review. So there's often quite a different points in the life of the strategy where you will see an assessment against the action plans that were in them.
Thank you.
Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? No, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. That concludes our officers' reports. Item 9 on the agenda is councillor reports and general business, which is nil, and item 10 is notice of motion. We have a notice of motion from Councillor Meadows Taylor. Would you like to move your motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The motion is that council, 1, note the published objectives by the producers and distributors of the recent 3-part documentary Meet the Neighbours, focused on Maryborough and Central Goldfields Shire, included to, quote, shine a light on what is a divided, two-speed and unequal Australia and what some of the solutions to this disparity might be. And that in turn may again, quote, kickstart an important national conversation about the challenges facing parts of regional Australia, end quote. 2, resolve to write to the Prime Minister in terms of the draft letter attached, seeking his support and leadership in this important national conversation to commence within National Cabinet, with a view to developing a strategy to redress key challenges facing regional Australian towns, and through more focused and strategic investment and better infrastructure and services provision, create a fairer and more equal Australia. 3, agree to a copy of this letter being sent to the Premier of Victoria, with a covering letter seeking her own support for this action within National Cabinet, as well as copies being sent to members of Parliament representing our Shire at Commonwealth and state level. And 4, request the CEO to incorporate this real opportunity for Maryborough and Central Goldfields Shire into Council's advocacy program, targeted and focused to specific ministers, government bodies and funding agencies and actual grant streams. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Sproul. Councillor Meadows Taylor, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The sole purpose of this is about advocacy, making a case for a fairer deal for regional Australian towns and regional Australia, and to ask the Prime Minister to champion this within National Cabinet, which is of course the Prime Minister and all the state premiers. The case for an unequal and divided Australia is very clear. There are a number of studies. SGS Economics, with a very, very respected company, did a major study not that long ago in 2019, looking over the past decade at capital cities and regional Australia. And the proportion of GDP clearly favours, allowing for the population differences, capital cities. There has been in GDP terms a marked underinvestment over decades in regional Australia and regional Australian towns. To give some examples, and I don't have time to give many, I just want to talk in two key areas. First of all, employment. Councillors will recall our own study not that long ago, where over 2/3 of our employers reported difficulty or extreme difficulty in recruiting, attracting and retaining staff. Difficulties included housing, opportunities for housing, services, childcare, education, GP services, where migrant services are involved, the lack of support and following through, regulatory difficulties, infrastructure issues, communications technology, transport difficulties, a range of issues which contributed to difficulty, and a continuing ageing regional Australia, which of course reduces the recruitment pool. In relation to the second example, Goldfields, many years ago, probably going back to 2007 and 8, Council recognised this was a priority area to redress disadvantage. As it stands presently, our statistics show that 1/3 of our children are in poverty in our shire. We have twice the average of children with vulnerabilities of various types in the education system, and roughly 3 times or more than 3 times our children are more likely to be exposed than the Victorian average to alcohol and drug issues or to domestic violence. Hence, we made a case in 2010 was the first funding for Go Goldfields, and I find it absolutely appalling that some almost 14 years later, we're in a situation with no assured funding, where the CEO literally is running around town. We're grateful that we've given that opportunity to try and get the next tranche of funding just to continue this program on. That should never have happened. We should be assured of funding. We are, together with Logan in Queensland, one of the 2 areas nationally regarded as leaders in this space. And it is appalling that we are in the situation that we are. However grateful we are that we've been given the opportunity to explore the next tranche of funding. We know that childcare is a critical issue. Victoria University and the Mitchell Institute did a study around Australia of access to childcare. They called it from one hand, where there's plenty of availability, oasis, on the where there's paucity desert, and they have a statistical measurement. What they call Maryborough region is listed as 100% desert. So we've got real problems, as we know, in the childcare early years area. And I remind councillors of when we heard from the Murdoch partners in Goldfields, the Murdoch Institute, the professor told us that despite our good work in Go Goldfields, we will only fix the problems in our early years by increasing prosperity. We know that to do that, we need the investment to do that. We know what's needed. We don't have the dollars to do it. So I make those 2 as examples. And the argument is that let's use this brief spotlight that we've had in national TV to start the conversation to redress generations of entrenched disadvantage in regional Australia and regional Australian towns, I'm optimistic. I've seen over my lifetime the case for women's equality more recently, for Indigenous groups since the Mabo decision, and in relation to people living with disabilities. Change can happen if the case for change is made and the case for a fairer Australia. It's time to make the case for a fairer Australian, regional Australian environment and regional Australian town. This is what this is about. Let's start that conversation. This is the proposal, and the draft letter is to do just that. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Sproul, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure most people in our shire have seen the three-part series, Meet the Neighbours. Whilst the individual views on this are differing, this motion in particular focuses on the reasons and results of the process rather than the reviews of the television series. We've had a lot of difficult, complex problems to deal with within our shire, from housing to worker attraction and retention, public transport, access to medical services, etc., etc. They are all intertwined with each other, and whilst council will continue to try to work through these, it's our advocacy on these issues which is crucial. These aren't issues that council can solve by itself. They need the focus of state and federal government together with local government and community to work together towards a better solution. They need investment, they need commitment, and they need ongoing support. We have high levels of generational unemployment and disadvantage. That's no secret. Go Goldfields was one program that put actions in place to build our younger generation to be the aspirational and successful individuals we want them to be. Every child, every chance. This program is proven success, yet is currently looking for more funding. Periodic funding does little to provide job security for workers, and given our current need for skilled workers, we are at a real risk of losing quality employees due to not being able to provide some job security. If that happens, we are left even further behind. We need a commitment to ongoing funding. We're talking about generational disadvantage, and it will take generations to get out. We must acknowledge that and make sure that higher forms of government commit to our shire going forward. Maryborough is a great place. I wouldn't have chosen to live here or represent our community if I didn't think that, but we can't always have rose-coloured glasses on either. There are parts, as in most communities, that are less than desirable. Higher than average unemployment, youth disengagement, telecommunications, lack of public transport, the list goes on. We need to take a broad focus and look at the links between these to enable us to navigate our way to a better tomorrow. This must have the support of all government tiers as they are connected under different jurisdictions. If the answer for skills shortage is to import skilled workers, fine. I don't necessarily agree with it. But if we as a shire can't retain these workers due to any of the various areas of concern previously mentioned, what benefit is it to our community? We need governments from all levels to understand the difference between rural, regional and city, and understand it's not one size fits all approach. The need for a conversation at national cabinet level is crucial for the advancement of rural shires like ours, and I thank Councillor Meadows-Taylor for strong ongoing advocacy in this. And if you're doing advocacy, you want Chris Meadows-Taylor in your corner. Maryborough may have been the location for Meet the Neighbours, but the series could have reflected any number of rural and regional towns across Australia. This is an opportunity to leverage the findings from the program to advocate for a national review of the Two-Speed Australia. Unfortunately, the television episodes only showed so much, but I assure you there was much work done behind the scenes. Let's use the series as a tool in our ongoing work to be better whilst it's still in everyone's mind. Don't get hung up on words about being one of the whitest towns in Australia. Instead, let's focus our energy on our shire and try to improve and ensure the towns we love will not only still be here, but be better in the future. Let all those that stood up in defiance of the series come together to help in securing our future. But let's also allow the facts of not only our shire, but many others shine through at our Prime Minister that yes, we are a great town with great people, but we have real complex issues that need their support and investment. I encourage my fellow councillors to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion?
I will speak against the motion.
Yes, Councillor Lavella.
Thank you. Although I take what you put, as generally in part, the sentiment is excellent, but yet again, we are making a council decision around something we have not robustly discussed previously. We only got this motion 4 days ago. Now, as we know, we endorsed in June 2020, we endorsed the decision to welcome to Central Goldfields project, and that in regards to that, the recent Blackfellas documentary, and I can't stand even talking about that documentary. Whilst I do understand, as I said before, the sentiment draft letter, I believe this motion needs to be discussed in depth with all councillors in the new year. There will be nothing gained by sending the ministers letters this close to Christmas. I don't understand the urgency to push this through today. As the attached letter states and includes the documentary report and key data, I just read that today. Part of this key data for your advocacy or our advocacy states, and I don't know whether that's going to be even sent to the minister. Is that supposed to be an attachment to be a letter? Well, it states in here, which I haven't heard about this before, 600 new homes sewered for the Talbot Futures, Talbot, and we are seeking funding for $30 million to support this enabling infrastructure. Now, these are things we need to discuss around the table. We need a conversation when everyone's minds are more at rest, post-Christmas, when we are more settled, bearing an objective opposed to subjective frame of mind. Reactive and emotive decisions are fraught with danger. The community needs to know the facts. Therefore, I request more discussion around statistics of our second lowest ranked local government area for socio-economic disadvantage, and that's dot point number 6. We need to be assured of the facts and the reference point from where this has been extrapolated. I would like a discussion around statistics of our low disadvantaged children prior to Go Goldfields, commencing, and indeed to this day. As Go Goldfields was mentioned, as you mentioned it previously, in dot point number 3. Dot point number 7, quote, a wide range of businesses and community leaders have engaged with council in the work with Meet the Neighbours and are passionate and motivated to continue to work with council. I was at the meeting for the debrief after the final episode with some of the nominated Community Reference Committee, but not all were there in attendance. Whilst there were a couple who appeared to remain engaged, it was obvious to me the reluctance in the room. I felt the support was not strong enough at that point of time, not to say it won't be into the future. Therefore, to imply that a wide range of businesses and community leaders are passionate and motivated to continue is misleading from my point of view. We need to take the community along with us. We can only do this by strong and accurate facts, and that's fact-based evidence along with healthy discussions. I, for one, refuse to make decisions on the run. And this is exactly what we would be doing, councillors, if we endorsed this notice of motion. And Councillor Sprout mentioned review and advocate. Totally agree with you. We need to advocate strongly. But I do believe we need to advocate with a coalition of regional and rural councillors to address this dire issue, because they're all in the same situation. But we need to have the full discussion before I could ever endorse this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vella. Any other councillors? Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm also going to vote against this notice of motion. As Councillor Meadows-Taylor stated, this notice of motion is about advocacy. We have extensive documentation and strategies around advocacy. This document is advocating for 2 projects that has not been thoroughly discussed by us as council, and I feel that we are being herded into a corner that I'm not feeling comfortable with. One of them is the Rush project. It started off as a TILT project and now it's the Rush project, which is fine, but I haven't seen any strategic planning around it. I have not seen any financial planning around it. Which is asking for money. We need money for Goldfields. We need money for a youth hub, to name a few. I believe it would be more appropriate to focus our attention and energy on projects that are already running and actually underperforming at this point due to financial constraints, rather than initiating further programs with similar and parallel intent. In terms of the youth hub, the mayor reported back last week after a conversation at one of the schools in town that the creation of a youth hub would be valuable. We've had the creation of a youth hub a few times as a strategy, and it's never come about. I do not see any conversation around that at the moment. But I would like to reiterate. With regards to many of the projects listed in this letter, we still as a council need to have further consultation before we send a letter like this. I would like to reiterate that I support the principle and the sentiment behind this letter, but I feel it's too rushed and we need to have a discussion similar as to what was voiced by Councillor Lavella. I do not think this is the appropriate time or the appropriate projects mentioned in this letter. I cannot support this notice of motion.
Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. Councillor Murphy, did you want to speak to the motion?
I'm probably supporting it because it's a good motion. There's really nothing wrong with it, and I read it over the last 2 days, and I was really happy to read it. And I think I got my head around it, and especially like when the letter going to the Honourable Anthony Albanese, redressing the disadvantage and lack of investment in regional Australia, a national conversation. That's the heading, and then we get into everything else. We're not finding money's coming for housing from the housing, and we want part of the housing money. Okay, so there's things there that we want part of. And I agree with Councillor Manis-Taylor about the Go Goldfields. You know, look, it's funded excellently for a long number of years, and now we are crawling to find funding to keep things going or where we're going. And that is important. That is important to find that money. And otherwise, as Councillor Sproul, as Councillor Sproul said, that we will lose people again out of this Shire if it closes down, which we will work our backsides off to make it stay going. But then they'll go again. Then we've got to find people again. But we have to realise that housing, it's about housing. It's about Go Goldfields. So I've read this. This has been out for a few days. I've read it. I understand it. I thought something like this would happen, especially about Go Goldfields. And the housing is a crisis. So as soon as we can get it in there and get going and have it on their books and they can look at it at the end of January, I'm pretty happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Meadows-Taylor, you have a right of reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I hear the points that are being said, saying we need more time. Two points. The issues that have been attached to the letter and referred to have been in one way to this council in a whole lot of different ways. The Go Goldfields statistics are well known. They are the basis of our advocacy just to continue the program going. There's nothing new in there. The issues about housing consultant pains in the Talent Structures report was noted by council at the time. The evaluation report tabled during the year dealt with many of the issues and concerns And I would take a different view to Councillor Vella. I think there is strong support from the business community for what they have been over many meetings, because they are the ones experiencing these difficulties. To them, it's a here and now issue, as indeed the funding for Go Goldfields is here and now. So I take the point, rush things are never good, but this is the basic, this is a continuation of the very objectives that started with this program, whatever the perceptions of the program are. And I appreciate your comments, Councillor Vella, not supporting the particular program. This is about outcomes that are with us here and now. We do not in any way compromise by making the decision now. We have that opportunity. We're in the spotlight now. This case can be made, and as the proposal is, targeted advocacy will follow over the coming months in a range of programs. But there are opportunities here and now. There's needs here and now. But I believe this is the time. It's the right time to make that the overall case right now. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mellowes Taylor. I will now put this to the vote. No more debate. All those in favour? Against?
Against it.
The motion is carried. That concludes our business. There's no urgent business and there's no confidential business.
Yes.
So I would like to close the meeting, seeing as this is the last meeting of the year. I would like to wish everyone peace, joy, goodwill and happiness for you and yours at Christmas time and always. Merry Christmas and good night. And thank you to our virtual gallery.
Thank you.